that's going to take.
Why?
I just really like. I don't know. I think
Is it just because you're a narcissist?
probably. It's also like, it's just, there's something about it that I just really liked. I think they still do work. I'm not saying they don't do, but they don't, more.
They don't get the story.
They don't have to go out and do all the work in, like 5 hours. Yeah.
So did you like going out, getting the story?
It depends on the story. Because sometimes you're given the stories that are just like, hey, we need you to go to the 30th board meeting this month. And you're like, great, I love, great board meeting. You sit through the board meeting for the one pick, and then you sit through the rest of the board meeting.
But you could, I was a newspaper man, right? Newspaper. And I was also a radio guy, right? So I would get stories like that. And what I would do is I would get into all those people, not about what they were talking about or talking about, parking or, where to put the next stop sign. No, I got into the people and looked at all of their laundry and then started doing stories, which basically those people would either love me or hate me or try to be my friend. So I would do a nice story on them. And that was quite, I did that in Roanoke, Virginia, which is quite an interest. So it's just down the road.
It's not far
from where you went to college, right? So that whole area up to where that's why I know your school and everything from DC all the way down to here, basically, my thing. And so I was a radio guy and I was a newspaper guy. And so that's the stories I would tell. And I was very much a photographer. The image was, so I would have the image and I would back it up with a story. It had nothing to do with whatever my editor sent me out to, the stop sign or the curbs. So as a real news person, you have to, and this is what makes you a real. You want to be the guy who is the, head. Well, not the head, but the guy. What did you call them? The guys who are behind anchor, right? You want to be the anchor. You got to be able to do that first, because you're going to have to do interviews that you only have a minute and a half to get to what the real story is.
Yeah, I think there's.
You don't do that.
A lot of stations, and it's our station. We don't have what is considered a beat, or we have a couple of them. Like we've got a reporter who is based in Kingsport, and we've got one that's in Greenville. However, there are days where sometimes they're the ones coming back to Johnson City because they want them to do a certain story, and so we're kind of all over the place. So sometimes you could say like, oh, I want to keep on this specific story, but then the next day they're like, we actually need you to go from Johnson City, Tennessee. We need you to go up to Mountain City. It's like. I've been working on a story and trying to set up a story in Weber City for a few weeks now, and it's just one of those where I just never have the time to focus on this story and get everything set up.
What's the story?
There was it started off because there was a church in Weber City that shut down their daycare, and Weber City does not have a lot of daycare.
Right.
And parents
does have no services. Period.
Yeah, so people. There were a lot of parents who were upset because this daycare shut down.
Right.
And now I kind of was transitioning from that because I got a response from the church. It was transitioning from focusing on that one church to just focusing in general about the the lack of childcare in that area. But
everywhere else.
Yeah, I was like, it's one of those where it was that area specifically only because it's the one we're hearing most about.
Because it was there and now it's not. So that vacuum.
And so now they're those are parents that are having to drive to Kingsport to get childcare. And so I was trying to set it up, but it's a matter of I have to reach out to city leadership, and I haven't been able to just.
The real interesting thing is everywhere but the United States, all the rest of industrial nations have daycare for their workers. They understand that's a good business plan, right?
Yep.
But here we don't care for our workers; they're just throwaway cogs. But the real interesting thing about that is how it's connected to healthcare, education, work, environment, and what's really a big issue that no one's even looking at is homeless people. There are 3,000 homeless people in the Tri-City area. And when you say that to people, what are you talking about? Well, all you got to do is go to Johnson City around.
I went to campus ministry. I would tag along ETSU's campus ministry if I was in town.
Right.
And we had a Thanksgiving dinner the other week, or I guess the other
A
month.
few weeks ago.
And what we had left over, we packaged it and we went to like the Salvation Army, and there were just like, we left boxes and we walked away, and in a matter of minutes, like not even minutes, I think like, it was all that, those boxes were empty by the time we'd left, in the matter of us walking from there to our cars. And it was one of those where like, they do that with almost every meal. If we have leftovers, there's a couple of them who will go out in the community and hand out whatever leftover food we had. It's, I was like, even driving around downtown Johnson City, you see them.
Yep. You just have to be, and Elizabethton, it has it on the main street, that little place where the parking's back here and the bathroom is there, and this place you can.
Yeah.
It's,
and then
always
you
got a ton of people there.
Kingsport, like in Kingsport, they're one of the places that has like the stuff, like the wood in the middle of the benches, because that way people can't lay down on the benches.
Right. It's
Which is
yes.
awful.
Yes.
I think it's something that bothers me.
It's called inhuman.
Mm-hmm.
It's a corporate motif, and it's going to get worse because all through history, you look at Rome, Egypt, Mesopotamia, they had the same issues.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they had bread and circus,
Mm-hmm.
because they had millions of people who would eat the government up if they weren't entertained and given a chunk of bread to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Yeah, it's
it's a thing that just keeps. It's like a bad meal; it just keeps repeating.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so I guess this is your career. You want to be a journalist.
I like the human. I told my boss I really like human interest stories.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like doing like I think investigation. Investigative journalism is something I'd like to look into in the future. I think it ties into my love of true crime, in a sense of like, not, oh my god, this is such an but just
true
wanting
crime
to help.
as a blog. So you got a blog?
I don't.
Do you have a phone?
I do.
Pull out your phone and go to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Owl.
Okay.
See it?
Yep.
See my picture?
Yep.
So subscribe. I have about 2,000 shows.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to go to, I don't put them in any kind of order at all. I don't
Mm-hmm.
put them in this category, that category. It's like a roulette wheel. You put your finger on the thing and go zip and go boop, 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 boop. Look at that one.
Mm-hmm.
You bring it up, you put your finger on the little cursor and watch my image. And if anything strikes you, you can watch it for 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost a TikTok.
Yeah.
And but I got 2,000 stories, and they're all about this neck of the woods.
Yeah. I was like, it's something that I just am very big into human interest stories, because I think there are just so many.
So if you're really interested in that, my email is thedudewake42@gmail. Right? Get a hold of me, and I can take you. Like I said, I've been working with all the churches around here. I mean, I know every environmental, economic, industrial, because I'm kind of a psychosocial, cultural, forensic anthropologist. I have degrees in all of that.
Yeah.
More degrees than a thermometer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know all the people. Like I said, if you went to this, Wayne and Joe,
Mm-hmm.
man, they would fill out the Tri-Cities for you.
Yeah.
And Wayne is great with music. He's amazing. So anyway, check those two things out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, do you want to stay here, or do you want to go to
For now,
larger markets?
I'd like to move up eventually. Right now, just with some family stuff that's going on, I don't want to go too far from this area.
Yep.
And I'm in a 2-year contract, so I'm here until June of 25.
Right.
But I think, kind of getting my footing in this area,
Mhm.
and then one day I'd like to move on. But
So what do they shoot TV news with these days? Their
like,
phones or?
we use in the studio. It's professional cameras, both like big
Right.
cameras, and
Right.
then out and about we use like either JVC or Sony cameras.
Right.
Sometimes we use our phones if it's like we need to get a photo back like right away.
Because our phones today probably have better pixel resolution than those cameras.
Yeah,
Because those
probably.
cameras are probably
They're-
based on 20-year-old technology.
Mhm.
Yeah. So is
Yeah.
your station HD?
Maybe
Maybe.
it's not my expertise there. It might be. It's not my expertise. It's I focus on my end of things and go from there. But
But so, have you studied the history of TV and radio journalism? It's an interesting story.
a little bit, not probably not as in depth.
Well, when you were in school, I mean, didn't they throw any of that? I mean, where CBS, NBC, ABC came from, who was doing what,
I think I know a little bit
where the
about
money
it, but
came from. Have you studied? What's really interesting? Go watch public TV's night news. First 5 minutes is brought to you by, and all of these, like, General Dynamics and Boeing and
Mhm.
Raytheon. Every war criminal is basically paying for the news. Ergo, that news is leaned on by them.
Mhm.
And pretty much all media today is leaned on by the corporate interest.
Yeah.
So have you seen that in your own house?
Oh, not that I can remember.
So your channel, what network is that with? NBC, ABC,
I want to
CBS?
see where CBS.
CBS? Yeah.
I want to say again.
But you don't know.
I know. I should know. I think
You
it's
should.
CBS.
You work there. Yeah, you
I
should
think
know
it's
that.
CBS.
Yes.
I do my job, and I know for sure that it is. I know we do. I think we do CBS, and then I think we have an ABC
Affiliate.
affiliate, and we kind of will cast there too, but mostly we're mainly CBS.
Well, they're all owned by, guys on the board are all the same guys. Disney and Comcast and
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
iHeart. They pretty much run the media, period.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite interesting. So do you have your own blog?
I don't.
You should, because that's where it's all going to go,
Mhm.
right? And if you have the great opportunity of A, having the education, B, now you're in a station, start your own blog. You could be bigger than your own TV station, right? And you can control it pretty much. But you can tell the stories you want to tell. Do you watch it?
I don't get a lot of. Not really. I do more podcast form stuff.
Okay, well,
And
well
less,
blogs and casts, they're almost the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just really a more perspective point of view. Like Joe Rogan. You ever watch him? How about Jimmy Dore? So are you interested? So you said you were interested in crime stuff, right? So are you interested in things that go bump in the night? Paranormal?
Every now and then I
Because
dabble
this
in
is
it.
one of the most paranormal places. And here's
My campus was haunted
so here's
for
some,
sure.
yes, not up, well, all those slaves, yes.
There's stories. It's not even. There's stories about ironically demons in the chapel.
Yeah. So, when you go up 81 and 66 hits and you go to DC,
Mhm.
Not Salem, not Savannah. What's the S town there has the women's mental institution and the women's prison there?
It's in Virginia.
Yeah. It's right where it's escaping my mind right now. But that's kind of where Woodrow Wilson came from, and why our country is so wacko is because of him. Oh, it'll pop into my mind if I stop thinking about it. And have you traveled the Blue Ridge Mountains at all?
Haven't gone. I don't
Like
think
the
so.
Parkway? Have you taken the Parkway?
I think so.
You can jump on it. There's lots of places to jump on it around here. How about Asheville? Have you
I've been to Asheville a couple of times.
So I lived there for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a thing called the Biltmore House.
Yes.
And I got there, I did an ethnography on it. The place had been totally in ruins.
Mm-hmm.
It was in 90, and the state, and Asheville was stuffed in amber.
Mm-hmm.
There was nobody there. But it used to be the Paris of the South, where all the rich people came, right? And like the Biltmores, the Astors, right? Rockefellers, they all had places up in those mountains. So anyway, me and 4 other people did an ethnography because the state, the federal government, wanted to take it and turn it into the anchor of what's now tourism, right?
Mhm.
And so we did that for about a year, and so I got to know all the story. I'm the story guy and the documenter, and so that's why I stayed there 9 years, and so it was an amazing place to be, and so I looked not just there. I did everything from Oak Ridge to in Virginia, Roanoke, down to Charlotte. That whole big triangle, and this
Yes.
was economic triangle, and this whole between Kingsport and Oak Ridge. This was the Silicon Valley of the latter part of the 19th century. Right? And when the Civil War ended and the 14th Amendment, and Black people had somewhat of freedom, they went to places where they could use their skill sets. And why this became the Silicon Valley is because all these Black people who had skill sets of making things came up here. So this was actually a pretty Black neighborhood back then. So there's a real, so Joseph, the guy I told you, the library, he's got it in spades, and he has digitized everything. He's got all the articles from the newspapers and all the microfiche. And you want to know anything about anything in the Tri-Cities, that's your boy. Culture Wayne at the radio station.
Yep.
So those two guys, you really need to go do a show, go do a thing on both those guys. They'd love to do that.
Good to know.
Yeah, and they would take you out. I could also over this neck of the woods. I could take you to the last remnants of the holler folk. That would be very interesting on the tube. Go to Granny's house. She's way out in the middle of nowhere. She looks like a witch in a toilet, oil and bubble, And so this area is super duper paranormal. I mean, super duper. Don't play with a Ouija board around here. Did you ever see, Linda Blair in
The Exorcist?
Yes.
Yep.
If you were to fool around with a Ouija board, that's what would happen to you.
I don't dabble in it that much. That's a little. I don't do that one.
Well, I hung out with a lot of indigenous people. I mean, real, like in Africa and Australia and in South America. I hung out with people where I was the first white guy they ever saw. So they were living in another dimension.
Yeah.
I got a lot of stories. You want some stories? So you got me on your, and you can just take any one of those things off of YouTube and play it. I'll give you permission. I mean, it's everything on YouTube pretty much in general. Anybody can do anything with what's on the YouTube.
Maybe. I think so.
Unless it's been stamped somewhere, like with a trademark.
Like a copyright or something.
Right. And I don't think anything on that. So do you look at YouTube at all?
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
I do a lot of the I do a little bit of kind of whatever I'm feeling that day. There's
Well, then you'll love my channel because it's just stream of consciousness.
Yeah. I was like, I spend a little less time on YouTube. I spend more time kind of like documentary stuff.
Well, that's YouTube. There's
more
more stuff on YouTube than anywhere else on the planet.
Most of the time I'm watching just like whatever documentary is recommended for me that day. So I've watched one about like an investigation, really, from early.
I lived there 3 years. I got all the good stories about that place.
It was specific. What was it? The Ghost Train.
Oh yes.
That one. I watched that documentary recently, and then I watched one on. What was it? It was called Mother God.
Yeah.
That was one I watched recently. Well, just kind of whatever is, recommended that day. But a little bit of everything.
Well, I think I gave you a nice little smorgasbord.
Yeah. Could be something to explore. But I was like, I should probably head back. Oh no!
Prancing pony?
Yeah, I'm making a sign.
Oh.
I'm in the mood to have a lot of work to do and creating this event, so I'm
I
not
believe
certain
in you.
What
I believe in
event?
you.
The
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. When are you doing that?
The 27th of January.
Okay.
Yeah, so not too far.
No.
I have to make all the props.
So you're gonna do a
Taking off.
Yeah, I was like, I probably head back down this mountain.
Go ahead and get going. Well, that's fine. I'm gonna keep working on this. You come up. You're always welcome.
Oh, yeah.
I know that.
I was like-
Anytime you're bored.
I was like, if I have the time,
Yeah.
I'll be up. If I'm not working, I'll get up here when I can. But
Come up whenever it's convenient.
oh yeah, for sure.
But safe travels home, okay?
I will. Thank you.
be safe out there.
Bye.
Jamie, if you're still watching, send me a a link. Can you guys link things on this? Yeah, New Spot. Yeah. My other place, their internet went totally fried, and they're not letting anybody on their new server. Yep. Interesting place. A lot of people come in and out. I can read their palms. So, John, you guys really redid this place. Yeah, he's ignoring me.
I'm so sorry, sir. What did you say?
I said you totally redid this place.
No.
This,
Jeff and Shirley and them, they already did all this. We just moved our physical
Really?
stuff in here.
but this wasn't what it was when I used to come at breakfast here.
That must have been a minute ago.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
2 years, maybe
they,
3.
They did this section as their so the room behind us too. So down to this one, they did this for the wedding venues and special events and stuff.
Yeah, I early on, because this was one of the only places, and this place was a general store. I got here when it was still a general store.
Oh yeah.
Everyone hung out on that deck. I mean, everyone.
That's what we're gonna try to bring back.
Yep, that's good.
It's just, man, I tell you, this world is something else nowadays.
Buddy, no, it isn't. I'm a historian.
Yeah.
It's always the same.
Oh yeah.
The only thing different is this. We
Technology, absolutely.
we get to see more of it, right? Before all the stuff was going on,
Yeah.
we just never knew it was going on.
Oh yeah.
I mean, wars
That
and
right there has turned into his brains in the church.
but it's just a tool.
Yeah.
It's like a hammer. You can hit someone in the head and kill them with a hammer, or you can build a house with it, right?
No, they have to YouTube that first.
Don't be. You're too young to be cynical. Don't do it, John.
So, I'm sorry, what?
I said you're too young to be cynical.
My friend, I grew up faster than most people in my generation. 17, I was already EMS and fire.
Oh yeah.
Served 8 years in the infantry.
So where did you do the EMS thing?
Up north.
Oh, in the Midwest. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
So,
Where were
I
you
was
in
a
a?
junior in high school.
Were you a rural? Were you in a?
high school, I was already dealing with life and death.
Were you in a rural place or a suburban?
Oh, no, it was mostly.
Right. Because I was in Cornell, upstate, and I lived across the street from this volunteer fire department, which I never knew.
Yeah.
But I saw all these pretty girls go in there, and I went in, girls, what's going on? And it was volunteer, and there were 30 women, 4 guys. So I said, sign me up. So I was EMS. I was a surgical EMS. I could do airways and lines and
Oh, yeah.
do the more gory stuff, right? And Cornell had an amazing trauma center. They invented stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we were cutting edge, And I did that for 3 years, and I wasn't an adrenaline. The girls were adrenaline junkies, right? And I wasn't. And we were at a place where 200 states did this instead of a clover leaf. So big trucks would run over little cars so at least 2 or 3 horrific war zone kind of things, you know, steering columns in people's chests, stuff like that, right? So yeah, I did it for 3 years, and then I said I can't do it. But the most amazing thing was the state of New York. That's my question to you. Did your state do this? If you were in high school and you joined a volunteer department, and you were there, let's say you had to start at sophomore year high school. At senior year, the state of New York would send you to college for free for doing that. Did your state do it?
Never knew about it, but when I signed a contract with the department took care of it. So I was going to night classes and got my certifications and all the license and all that. But it's
Because my whole thing is about service. You don't have to go in the army to do, like, I'm of the Vietnam War scene, right? And so when my draft board finally caught up to me, they said, we don't trust you with a gun. So I went and worked at the VA hospital for 6 years. And so I learned amazing things. And if everyone in America, how they want to get rid of, born citizenship. If everyone in America, like you were a citizen, but you weren't something higher than just a citizen, you had to serve the country. Now, you don't have to go kill people, but there are a zillion jobs that you can do to serve. If we did that, we'd have no problems in this country. If everyone served their neighborhood, their community, got to know everybody, we wouldn't have the problems we have today.
I would definitely think that would help. But there needs to be more, like what you held up, that cell phone. Well, the last time I stepped back into my high school, I was actually contracted to go back up and teach some law enforcement classes. And when I stepped back into school, go say hi to some teachers, I walked in, they're in class, and these kids are all on their phones. I'm looking around, the teacher says, "I'm going to get your phones out, aren't you instructor?" She said, "Well, we're allowing them now to have phones, and we're trying to teach them how to be responsible and how to use them." I shook my head.
Were you in uniform?
Yeah. And I shook my head. I looked at one teacher, who I remember, Mrs. Smith, and I says, "You used to be the one that would send me to the principal's office if I didn't have phone out of my pocket." And she says, "Yeah, well, times have changed since yesterday."
But you have to realize, you know what this device is? This device, so when I was at Cornell in 84, right? So my job was, I looked at a lot of different things.
Sorry, Cornell University.
Cornell in upstate New York.
Okay.
Right? Big, that's like you go to any national laboratory, there's a Cornell Avenue, right? Meaning it's that kind of place, right? And they have more money than God, right? Their art collection is worth $1 billion. Yeah. So anyway, my job was, I worked for all these different entities, different departments, and I would look at stuff not like a Scholastic, not like from the textbook, because they were doing all this research. It was like Stanford, really big time research place. My boss sent me to this place called the Mass Center, which was like something out of a James Bond. It was like during Star Wars. It was put there to make that technology, right? And so I go there, and what is the little square thing that now you kind of do? It's on everything. It's a square with squiggly lines. What do you call that? Not
codes.
Yeah, whatever that is.
QR
code, right? Well, anyway, I have to go to this place, right? And it's like, has no windows. It looks like this. It's a black, 12, 20-story building. And my boss gives me this ID. Well, it has no picture, no nothing. It just has a QR code. This is in 1982, right? And he goes, "Do not lose this. When you go in there, if you do not have this and you get in there and you somehow lose it, they will kill you." That's the kind of security these guys had, right? So anyway, so I go, okay. So I go in there. I have a time to go. I have my little badge, right? And these guys are at the door with machine guns. And I kind of do this. They go, oh, yes, you're going to go to that floor. And I go into an elevator. There are no buttons. I just do this. Elevator door opens. There are no buttons. I just do that with it. And this is hallway. And there's this guy with a machine gun waiting for me. Takes me to a room. He doesn't even have it. I have it. You hear the thing unlock. And there's no windows, no nothing, no zip, zero, right? It's a table. And you can see it uses for interrogation. I mean, there's a little thing down on the floor where you put the chains and one on the table. My boss sent me here for it. This is kick back about 20 minutes. Door clicks, and this lady, with like grandma, comes in with a trolley. Are you hungry? Would you like a cup of coffee? And I go, yeah, I'll take one of those. I like took one of everything, and I'm like chowing down. And then this guy comes in with a $1,000 suit. I mean, really, this guy's in charge, right? $300 haircut, right? And his buddy, who's his security is with him, has a briefcase that's chained to his arm, and they put it on the table. They click the door open, and they pull this out. This is what they pull out. And they had one that was even more slick because it had no buttons. It just had the shiny side and the dull side, right? You couldn't even see the cameras. It was just, And the guy in front of me, and he goes, what do you think that is? And I pick it up, I look at it, and I go, well, it's a surveillance device, and it's going to be used in the near future. Everyone will have one, and everyone will talk to anyone around the world on it. Every bit of information will come through this, and it's for surveillance. And this, you know what this is? In the 1960s, we had a spy satellite that was called the Keyhole satellite. And this is a miniaturized version of 1960s technology.
Right.
When I was a kid in the 1950s, I was a smart kid, so I was at this corporate thing called Young Scientist, right?
Yeah.
And the guy who wrote 2001 was giving us a lecture, and he pulled out, everyone's smoking cigarettes, and he pulls out a pack of cigarettes and he throws it on the table. He goes, in the near future, there will be a device smaller than this. And he basically said all I did was parrot that I heard in 1958, right? But this technology is that old.
Well, now they got that as a wristwatch.
Oh, forget that. They have computers that have more computing power than that. That's a tattoo that they put on the back of your neck.
Yeah, well, they've had those chips.
Yeah. RFID code, but that's just a chip. I'm talking about a computer that's just, and it's like one of those tattoos you lick and you stick it on yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the technology is, I've seen things like most of the stuff that people think is flying saucers, right? That's our stuff. Is our stuff. Now there are aliens here, but they don't need that. They come out of your bathroom, They come from Alpha Centauri, and they walk, and you'll go, I didn't see you go in, man. Wait. So that's the kind of world. That is why things are so disjunction, because people don't have, everyone like you, why are you, like I said, you're too young to be cynical, right? Why do you have this feeling? It's because it's not so much that you've been a policeman and you've seen the darker side of humanity. Well, you have, and you did.
Oh, no, I was thinking a bit of both.
Yeah.
At the same time, people have been misled, people have been brainwashed or socially engineered. And it's not being cynical, it's just seeing the fact that you could have people who are like you. And as much as I hate to say that, but it's true. And it's something that's never changed in human history.
Right, exactly.
It's
If you read, I'm a big reader of the Bible.
yeah.
It's amazing how I was reading, I don't have it with me, but there's a part in the Bible. What part is it? So I don't memorize it. Like a lot of people, quote John 4:9. I don't do that. I just read it all the time, right?
I gotta write it down.
So there's this part where God's talking to Israel and says, listen, if you do this, Everything's going to be hunky dory. You're going to be in the best of this. And these guys are no. We want to do it our way. And God says, fine, go ahead. But you're going to be enslaved. You're going to have the worst of times. And so you look at Israel's history, and whenever God talks about Israel, he's always talking about Israel like it's his girlfriend. And she's, always Israel's a harlot and blah, 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 right? It's his girlfriend. And God's just looking for, someone to hang with, right? And Israel, who's the chosen folk, they're so stupid that so what's going on in Israel right now, that has happened 6 frigging different times to Israel, and every time it never turns out too good for them. You'd think 6 times is set number 7. You'd think they would know better, but nope. Their ego, and that's humanity's biggest problem. Ego, big. That's it. That is the original sin. Is ego.
It blows my mind even to think about it. We're on a scale where we have people who own people or our own culture. We tell them a country like Lithuania. Where's that? Like Kentucky? They're like, oh my goodness.
But they've been bred to be morons, and America has always had morons as citizens, right? Because yes. Oh no, you shouldn't. Humans are just morons. So look at that. Let's see the picture. Oh, very nice. You did that freehand?
No, sir. I did that tracing.
Okay.
I got another one. No, I'm not that good. Not yet, anyway.
Practice makes perfect.
But I didn't spend $30 on it.
So did you ever see one of those little gizmos that it's got a lens in it and you point it at something and it projects it?
That's what I'm doing. The projector's in there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just hanging on the wall. Because we have movie nights with that. So that's why I'm doing it in there.
Right.
I just have a lot to do with it. Usually I don't have as much to do, but I want to keep this event pretty good work.
Yep.
You gotta work hard if you want something good in life.
Well, the other real key to success,
What's that?
stay at it. Everyone I've known has stayed at it, has been extraordinarily successful. And you don't even worry about failure or any of that because you learn from your failures. You don't learn from your successes. So if you have that in mind, so what's your tastiest coffee?
This is what you're drinking?
Oh, so do you?
You mean sweet?
So if you do you have a cappuccino in that flavor?
You can get any of the drinks, and that's our Journey Blend's most famous bean. I've been with it for over 6 years.
So how long have you been a coffee girl?
Well, actually, I've been with it for 10 years. Almost 10 years. Yep. Decade. Been doing coffee since 2016.
What got you into that?
A gentleman by the name of Jeff Kress, he's the roaster. He got me into photography and then gave me the opportunity to learn about coffee, and I fell in love. And now I'm doing it today.
Do you roast?
I don't roast, but that is my roast.
Okay.
I work for the roast.
I got you.
But yeah, if you come on by, I always have coffee. Like I said, usually I'm not this busy. I'm just gonna try to get this done.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, look. So JR gave you one of those.
Yeah, JR's the greatest. He's actually bringing me a good piece of wood.
Yeah, yep.
He's gonna let me. He has some dry wood. He's gonna let me use.
So
that looks nice, buddy.
Yep.
Thank you. I've been driving.
Some caramel for you now that I finally got something to give. There you go.
Do you have any cheesy ones?
Oh yeah.
Uncle Jed, you had 300 flavors. So how did you get into popcorn?
Something my brother and I have done since we were kids.
Oh,
And always had a love for it. And got out of doing all the fun things I was doing. I just wanted to do it. So we did. There's some cheddar. Here you go.
what I like is when you mix the two together.
I put them together. I call that one crack mix. Yeah, I got one called crackers, storm covered and cheddar. The cocaine is the white cheddar.
So I have diabetes, so I can't eat too much of this.
I feel that. I've always joked and said if I ever get diabetes, it would be death by ice cream.
I have a lot of skill sets. And so between 2006 and 2014, I worked in a corporate world looking at stuff with them. And I hung out with desperate lawyers that had desperate corporate lawyers that had 9-figure salaries, and they were all of them living paycheck to paycheck. It was like surreal, right?
Yeah, it is surreal.
Well, they're making millions of dollars a year, and they're living pay. It was like, what?
Yeah.
So you hang out with those guys. Whoa!
Too big of a ego life.
Yeah, baby. So for almost 15 years, I gained 250 pounds, right? And then I died. A total renal failure.
Yeah.
I come out the other side. I didn't let the doctors touch me. Took me 7 years to lose the weight. I had to be disciplined, blah, blah, blah. And that was one reason why I bought my little cabin out here. I stuck myself there. I have no internet, no TV, no phone, no nothing. And I'm about 30 miles to the closest Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
Now, can you juggle all that?
Yeah, if I could do that, right there, I'd probably have a good show going.
Yeah. Have you learned how to juggle?
I have.
Oh, good. Good.
The most I've gotten to is 3.
Well, that's a good
It's
start.
been many, many years, so I just do 2.
Well, okay. Well, get back to 3. And then see how many bags of popcorn, those bags, if you could seal them so they never open.
Oh, yeah, I do. I don't steal the ones I put on shelves.
Right.
Just-
Yeah, people are going to eat them.
Yeah, now the ones I put in the mail.
So if you had those, you could, because that would be the perfect thing to juggle because they're light and they almost float.
Well, yeah. They do get up there, especially the ones that I got.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Some of them, man. But like the cheddars,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like, there's no way at all.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. But those are the ones you should juggle. Because, and now you have, see, the real deal. So the girl who's the TV girl, you need to really become her bud. So she puts you on the tube. The news girl I was talking to.
Oh, yeah, they've come by a couple times in Johnson City.
Have they put you anything on the tube?
That place is a bust. I don't like to sugarcoat things, really.
Right.
Just to be honest. And people individually can be lost.
Yeah.
Who else? But
Put them in a
every
crowd.
time-
They're dangerous.
Yeah. Every time that Channel 11 comes in, they butcher words.
Mhm.
They don't put out the full story. Always the time.
Right.
They asked, why I do what I do, and I told them, I was like, this is just because I enjoy doing it.
Right.
It's kind of like a hobby.
Yeah.
But I was like, what I really love doing that Patriot Popcorn helps me with is those who serve the country community.
Yeah, yeah.
I want them to help through their suicide and all that post-traumatic stress. Any troubles and doubts they have, I direct work face to face.
This would be a great place to have circles. And if you ever want,
We've established that.
oh, because a circle is the best mechanism you can deal with any. I mean, I used to be deal with corporate guys who were screaming at you, who were millionaires, who I'm better than you, right? I put them in a circle, and I wouldn't even talk about the issue. I go around. So what really upset you, right? And then they go off, and then go around, and that. So whenever people get into stuff like addiction, it's a thing, they're self-medicating. That real issue, that hole that's in them, and that's what it's about. And it's sad because most of the people who do go into the military or any service oriented, they get abused. Like cops. When I was doing my thing, I was the guy who I was a cop, but I wasn't. I was like the conflict resolution guy. So I was all the social stuff, right? And I would teach people how to do that. And there were shrinky guys and this kind of guy to look at. Now they make the policemen do everything that they can. And they do that on purpose because they want to destroy the social fabric.
Yeah.
Because you look
They
at
want total control. They don't want you to have freedom.
right, and you look at any indigenous people,